Here we are, 3 weeks later, and look at that color. So what I do is I pour the wine from the carboy into a stainless steel filter. You see, and that way I get the clear wine in the pitcher, and then I bottle it. And what's interesting is I use beer bottles. Yep, I reuse beer bottles, and regular corks fit. So I'm going to finish off the rest of this. Delicious color, delicious flavor. I cork my bottles with this cork machine. What happens is you push this down and it squeezes the cork. You see, it makes the cork smaller and squeezes it into the bottle. So all I have to do is push the bottle, put it into place, make sure it's in place, and then push it down. Boom. There you go. There you go. It is corked. When you get down to the bottom, it won't be so clear. You notice that's not as clear as the last bit, right? It's because of all the stuff at the bottom of the carboy. And even though you filter it, those tiny little pieces that get past that very, very fine filter that I have will end up in the last bottle or so. And I've separated it. It will be this bottle, this one right here. And I just simply mark it as cloudy. So does cloudy mean it's undrinkable? Nah, it doesn't. It just means that it's cloudy. So this is what I usually taste to see what the wine tastes like. So I'm going to pour myself a glass. So I'm just going to let this sit probably an hour or so, and then I will taste it. Never mind. I did not wait an hour. And it tastes good. And it has a very high alcohol content. Really good. It has flavor. Really good flavor. Look at that color. It's so vibrant. Here you go. They're all labeled. You know, years ago, I said, wow, I should really invest in proper labels. You know. No, in the end, no. It's just easier this way. And also, it's just regular paper with Scotch tape. And that's it. So I label them as grape wine and the month and the year that I made the wine. The reason that I put grape is because I do make wine out of my other fruits. So this way I know that it is actually grape. Now, that last bottle was cloudy, right? So I put a C next to it in parentheses to let me know that this was one of the cloudy ones. And then this is what was left over in the pitcher. No, I was not going to drink 2.5 glasses of wine before bed. Not happening. So I put it into this. It has one of these things. So it should keep until tomorrow, and that'll be fine. And then we'll see that it has settled a little bit in the morning. After the wine has sat for the entire night, I've taken it outside. I don't know if you can see the difference through the video. I hope you can. But you can see that the topmost part is clear, while most of the sediment has settled in the lower half of the bottle. It got mixed a little bit when I poured, but it's in a glass. And I'm going to have this glass of wine while telling you about my philosophy of making wine at home. Before I tell you my opinion about making wine at home, let's have a tasting. First, we're going to look at the color. Now, this is not your conventional color. It's It's a very, very dark pink, almost like a fruit juice. Like, it looks like it could pass as a fruit juice. It doesn't look like your typical wine, which is refreshing in many cases. And it has a fruity fragrance and does not smell like wine. It has a freshness to it. Very grapes. I taste grapes. Grapes. Considering that it's grape wine, I'm not surprised. It's sweet. And almost tastes like a fruit punch. I kid you not. It's like a fruit punch grape wine. Every time I make wine, it has a different flavor. And of course, it depends on the season. Was the wine made in June? Was it made in August? It depends on the grapes. If the grapes are light and sweet and refreshing, then the wine is going to come out like this. If the grapes are dark and very sweet, but a deep, deep sweet, less fruity, just more syrupy kind of sweet, then of course the wine is going to come out tasting more like that, different. I add sugar, so it's going to be a sweeter wine. If I don't add sugar, which sometimes I don't add sugar, it depends. If I feel that it's a better quality grape, I don't add sugar, or at least sometimes I'll not add sugar, and sometimes I'll add a little bit of sugar, depending on how dry I want the wine. But generally, on a very good quality grape, I don't even need to add sugar, and it'll be dry and absolutely perfect for a winter evening after a roast meal. It all depends. It's summertime. I knew that this will probably, it was only a small quantity, so I'll know that I'll still be drinking this while the weather is still warm, so I wanted light and fruity, which is what I got. Oh. Add some ice cubes to this and somebody might mistake it for a cocktail. It's really nice. Actually, thinking about that, it's probably more of a wine liqueur, like a grape liqueur as opposed to a grape wine. What's the difference? I haven't a clue. I just know that this tastes really good. Now, making wine at home. A lot of professionals will have you believe that making wine is a science. And it's true, it's a science. But it's no more a science than baking cookies. As you can see from this little experiment that I've had, and I do this all the time. It doesn't have to be an exact science. Experiment. Have fun with it. What's the worst thing that could happen? You make vinegar? Oh, end of the world. Delicious tasting vinegar, by the way. I've noticed that a lot of places, a lot of companies, a lot of programs, they want people to think things are difficult so that people will buy their products. Making wine is very simple. It's a great little hobby of mine. I absolutely love it. I absolutely love making the wine. I love drinking my own wine. Does it taste like store-bought wine? No. Is there a place for store-bought wine? Absolutely. Absolutely. I support the local wineries, the boutique wineries in my region. There are 4, let me see, we have Psagot, Tura, Gvaot, Shiloh, that's 4, and Beitel. I support those local boutique wineries. I love them. I love their wines. I have my favorites from each one of them. But there's still something to be said for making your own wine at home, especially when you live in a region where especially when you live in a region where grapes are so abundant, they grow so easily, they practically grow wild. And the different flavors that you get from the different types of grapes. I grow in my yard Muscat and Merlot and Isabelle and Crimson Red, and I just recently acquired 2 early sweet. The one vine that is producing at the moment is the Isabelle. The reason the other ones haven't produced yet is because they're still young. It takes a few years for them to grow, and I got them when they were this big. But with the idea that I would have different types of grapes. I would have the table grapes for eating. That's the early spring, the early sweet, and the Crimson Red and the Isabelle. Those are table grapes, and the Muscat and the Merlot are for wine. And as you already know, I also make wine from my fruit. I just find in the summertime, these sorts of drinks, the liqueurs and the light and refreshing wines are indeed refreshing after a hot day. You know, you have a nice cool drink. I mean, this cooled, you can even put ice cubes in this and it's delicious. And very refreshing. Get into the pool with this. That's amazing. You can even make a wine spritzer with this. Oh my gosh, that would be so good. That'd be such a great cocktail. Anyway, I like to sit down and relax after a long, hard day's worth of work. I like to relax with a nice cool drink in the pool on the hot summer days. In the winter time, I prefer the more serious wine. Making your wine at home requires very little equipment. If you don't have a carboy, no big deal. Use a jug. Use a jug. Poke a hole in the top. Put a straw in it. Attach a balloon. That'll help you get and then just release the gases from the balloon. Once the balloon is big, you open it a little bit, release the gases, let it do it again. And when there are no more gases to be released, then it's ready to bottle. I reuse bottles. I use beer bottles for my wine. Oh no, how could you use beer bottles? Well, I have them. So why not? I mean, they're the perfect size. Why do you need to open a full liter or 750 milliliters of wine when you're just one person or 2 people? You're not going to drink the whole thing all at once. So I use the smaller bottles. As long as the corks fit in them, what does it matter? It doesn't matter. I've even used smaller bottles. I've used individual serving bottles for wine for times when I've gone on adventures and just wanted to take things with me, take some wine with me, but I didn't want to schlep the whole bottle. So I would put wine in a little bottle, enough for 1 glass. That's an advantage of making your wine at home. Is you can make it whenever you want Use any kind of grape, literally. Table grapes make good wine just as much as wine grapes. White grapes, purple grapes makes no difference. You know, they say that, oh, this is this color because I included the skins. Well, I include the skins with the white grapes too, and I don't get this color. And I have actually peeled grapes, the purple grapes, to get rid of the skins for no color, and it still came out this color. So I'm not sure about that whole, you know, oh, because it's got the skins it has colors. But the point is, you can make wine from any grape. You can make wine from any fruit. However much fruit or grapes you have, that's how much water you put in. And generally, if you have, you know, 1 liter or 1 quart of fruit, then you put in 1 cup of sugar. That's the ratio. 1, 1, 1. Make sure it's all even. And then you put in, depending on if you want bubbly or if you want light fermentation. That's already getting technical. I just put in about a tablespoon of yeast in 2 quarts. And that's enough. So again, the ratio is 1, 1, 1, 1. And it works. It works. 99.999% of the time, I have good wine. Does it last years like a regular bottle of wine? Well, I haven't had a regular bottle of wine last years in my house to know, because generally I buy wine and I drink it. I don't have wine sitting in a cellar just for the sake of having wine sitting in a cellar. Price. Oh my goodness. The price of a homemade wine. It's essentially the cost of a bunch of grapes. That's it. However much you would buy grapes for, that's how much your wine is going to cost you. And if you're like me, and you can just walk down the road and grapes everywhere, it doesn't cost me anything other than a cup of sugar. That's how much my wine costs me when I make it at home. A cup of sugar, tablespoon of yeast. So it's not very much. And I get all this enjoyment. I think more people should be doing these things at home. I think they'll have a better appreciation of the food and drink that they're consuming. They have different flavors. When you make things at home, it's never the same flavor twice. Even your favorite meal, your favorite dish, rarely does it come out to be the exact flavor. And the reason is because, okay, so this time you put in a little more salt, last time you put in less salt. You know, the ingredients vary slightly. But if you're a big commercial industry, it must taste the same every time. I don't know about you, but for me, that's boring. That's boring. I like my food to have flavor. I like my drinks to have flavor. And yes, there is security in knowing that you know, you have an expectation of what it's going to taste like. Well, that's why when you taste your wine, I mean, I'm familiar with the grapes already, so I would have the expectation that the wine would have that same grape fruity flavor and like a punch. So I have this expectation that my wines will be light and they'll have a slight variation in taste. But for the most part, it tastes like wine. It tastes enough. It resembles my previous batch enough that I know it came from my house. If you were to give me a bunch of glasses of wine and different colors, different that, I would pretty much know what wine from my house looks like. Sometimes it's a peachy color, sometimes it's this color, sometimes it's like it's the color of cranberry juice. It all depends on the grape, and I know that according to the grape. But there is a consistency of that grape fruity flavor. And for me, that's enough. I seriously, seriously encourage you to try making wine, not just one time, maybe a dozen times. Because you might, in the beginning, think, oh my gosh, this isn't working out, this, da, 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 and maybe it takes practice, although my first batch of wine came out great without practice. Again, ratio 1 to 1 to 1 to 1. And it works out perfectly. Until next time.